The next thing I want you to have a look at in Scrapbook is under the TB Contemporary set of scrapbooks, just page through. It's about the third page on, you'll start seeing the grid arrangements. Now I'm going to pick up one of the grids, so I might as well start with the A grid, and I'll drop it just somewhere locally on the drawing close to where I'm going to put that grid for now. Click to the selector tool, and I'll just zoom in into this area down here, and while you have to be zoomed in quite a bit, while I'm zoomed into about that scale, I'm going to select my grid and pick it up from on top of the grid line and drop that on top of you will find it wants to snap in eventually, and it doesn't really matter as long as you get it fairly close to where you want it to be. I might just have another go at that at a bigger zoom in. Okay, zoom that in, move it round and snap it back on top of that line, as close to anyway, and we'll zoom back out. The dimensions are actually being dimensioned to the actual building components. Now, okay, that looks like it might, there we are. Okay, now I've placed it in pretty much the correct position down here, but it's not at the top. Now there's two things you could do. If I select that at the moment, you can come to the end of the end or the sides of any scrapbook item and change their length. So, but if I change that, you notice the bubble is also changing to an elongated shape because it is changing the scale of everything in that direction. So if you want to avoid that happening, you could probably do it if it wasn't becoming too pronounced, but I'll just escape out of that and undo. If you wanted to avoid that happening, what you can do is double click on it, and that opens up that component for editing. The rest of everything is greyed out at this stage, and that would enable me to put a window around that part of the component, bring my cursor back until it becomes the 4-way move arrow, and move that perfectly in the upwards direction to, somewhere around about there. What I can do while I'm still here to make this complete is now select on the line part of the grid and stretch that out in that direction also until it snaps into that quadrant of the circle. When that's all done, all I've got to do is click outside and that component's been lengthened without changing the actual proportion of any of the objects. So once I've got that guy done there, you could actually start bringing in the B and the C and the D if you like. However, I've gone to all that work to get this just the right length, so I think I would select it and make a copy of it by holding down the Control key as you get the 4-way move, and copying that across to, well, get it going straight across, and keep doing that again. And what we'll do is we'll move it actually from grid line to grid line later, or I might just try getting this one right for starters, and we might try something else then. So I'll just move this until it snaps on top of the grid line, which it did fairly easily for me that time. And same again. Now, tools. Okay, so I'll just take another copy of that again from grid line. See if I can get it to snap onto the grid line first time this time. Something snapped there, but I'm not too sure. Looks pretty good actually. Okay, that'll do. And do that again a couple of times. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go into each of the items then and edit the text rather than pick it up from here. Otherwise you'd be going back in and editing the shape all the time. So I'll just zoom in a bit, get that a bit closer, so I can do maybe both of these in the one zoom setting. Something like that. Okay, and copy that guy across to there, get it nice and horizontal. Just be careful you do get it nice and horizontal. Might be able to hold the shift key down. No, that doesn't seem to do it for me. I'll just, okay, so let's place it. No, I'll just undo. be patient with this, particularly depending on how fast your computer is. Okay, so I've placed all of mine now. I might go back and start renaming these now. Just click out so it's not selected. Right, so I'll double click on it and I'll click on the text again. Double click on it a few times till you can get that text to happen. And I'm just going to change that one to read X0. So that's going to be my X0 grid line. Have to do that same to this one. Change that to X0 and click out. Now I'll do the same all the way along until I've got X1, X2, X3 and X4 and so on and so forth. Let's get this to come back here now. So I'll just finish off mine through to X4. Okay, so I'll just show you the last one I'm doing. Worked out the best sequence to do this in. I just double click on the bubble first, is the best idea, just to come down to the bubble. Double click once, that'll open up the overall component for editing, but now there's a component inside this, so I have to double click again. And just be patient when you do this. In layout, layout's sort of got a lot of graphical data it's got to keep a track of. And then I'm going to double click a third time, because that'll then open up the text inside the bubble. Just be patient, and then I'll just type X4 for that one. Don't press enter, you'll have to click outside somewhere to close down that piece of text. Then you'll have to click outside somewhere to close down that bubble. You're still then in the other overall block though, so now we can double click on the top one, which opens up that bubble. Now we double click on that to open up the text inside that bubble, and then we type X4 again. Don't press enter, click outside to close down the text, click outside to close down the bubble, then click outside to close down the overall scrapbook item. Now we're going to go and do that again now for the horizontal grid lines, and they're going to be numbered Y0, Y1, Y2 and Y3. So I'll just go ahead and do that now, and I'll just pause the video at this stage. Okay, so I've now placed the grid lines Y0, Y1, Y2 and Y3, and I've edited those in much the same way that I did the X's. So we'll just move a stop there, let you get it saved up to that point, and we'll take off a little bit later.